Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to Brunch with Bobby. I'm Jeff Finn here today with Bobby Babis, and today's focus is on creating client watch lists and tour books. So, valuable tools inside of the RealNex suite to provide online access to property availabilities and information to your clients, and to work through our application to show properties. Very helpful when you may not be able to show them physically, and certainly to drive efficiency in the showing process to narrow down the properties that you want to go on site with, ultimately to complete transactions. So pretty excited about what Bobby's got to share with you today. Next week, we have two special guests with our session. Matt Smith will be joining Bobby to talk about off-market deals and using our e-market campaign manager, as well as Chris Sayre and Mike Lurg will be back to show us the Real Fit tool, which is a test fit tool built into our 3D modeling capabilities. But today it's all about tour books and watch lists. And Bobby, I will hand the controls over to you. We appreciate everyone's participation with the program. Hope you're doing well, and thanks again for being with us. New pick, Bobby.
Thank you so much, Jeff, and thank you everybody for joining us here on this Thursday in the middle of May here. Let's see, should be showing screen now. Perfect. All right, so yeah, like Jeff said, today we are going to be talking about sending out client watch lists, as well as generating a tour book for your clients to simplify the tour process, take away a lot of the headaches. So our actual scenarios that we'll be going through today will be based on office, but everything that we're doing today can also be applied to any different property types, and I'll try to make it also applicable to both for sale and for lease scenarios as well. So let me just bring up my screen. So again, the first thing we're going to start talking about is going to be client watch lists. So client watch lists gives you the ability to take multiple listings that would be potential matches for your client, and then share those listings with said clients. So one of the tools that's available to all of our users is the RealNex Marketplace, which has a listing search as well as a place where you can put your own listings. And we'll be talking about both of those today, because sometimes you'll want to actually send them listings that don't actually apply to what's already in the system, but you might have those properties. So we're going to be talking about both sides of those things. So first off, we have our client. We're going to be searching for office space in Las Vegas for our client between 40,000 and 60,000 square feet. Pretty simple. They have a specific area of the city they're looking in. So we'll want to use that as our first basis for putting together a list of properties that would potentially match their criteria. So if you're not already in the marketplace listing search, you can go here on the left-hand panel, and property search will take you directly in. It's also the default when you go into the application, although you can change that default to either be the CRM or Market Edge as well. But if you have not changed that, you'll probably see this each time you log into our system. And the first thing you're greeted with is the ability to search the listings in the database. So first off, our client is interested in either for sale or for lease listings. So we're going to go ahead and search for both of those. And they are interested specifically in office or office building, not office mixed retail or medical. So we're just going to eliminate those that come automatically when you choose office, and just continue going down the list. So next criteria is going to be, we want specifically properties in Las Vegas, Nevada, not New Mexico or South Carolina. And then continuing down, the other criteria for our client is building size, which I've already plugged in here because I was making sure that this would actually look like I wanted to prior to doing this. So once you've got all of your criteria entered in here, and of course you can see that there's other pieces of criteria depending on if you're working with industrial clients, they might need to know the acreage specifically. You might want to search by square footage per month, dollar per square footage per month rather, and so on. But again, we can hit apply, and that's just going to bring up the listings that match those criteria. So we have a total of 70 listings in in Las Vegas between 40,000 and 60,000 with a mix of for lease and for sale. And as you scroll through, you'll actually see probably the vast majority of them are going to be for lease in this case, but we will hit a couple of for sale buildings as well right now. There's just not as many in the system for this specific criteria. But what we can do is, now we also had a specific area of Las Vegas in mind, and they're looking specifically in the Spring Valley area. So we want to just kind of segregate the search just to those listings in this corridor right here. So we have a number of tools here where you can either draw a circle to do a radius search and just bring up the listings within that, or you can actually use this tool here to draw a polygon. And so we are going to just use our northern boundary is going to be, whatever this is, Flamingo. So we're going to use Flamingo over to, let's bring this tool back up. Flamingo. That is not currently. All right, I know the circle tool works right now. My browser is just having some issues. There we go. So we're just going to limit it to just the properties within this radius right here. I think the fact that I have everything open right now is causing issues with that. Perfect. So yeah, now we went from those 70 listings down to just 21 within that actual circle. And of course, you can then modify that. Like, let's say we actually don't want them too much on the outer edge, and that brings us down to 17 in total. So now we want to share these with our client. So we can then go here and select all of the listings. So we have all 17 selected. And right now we could then add to the watch list, or we could go through and eliminate any of the ones that don't actually, we know our client better than that and understand that, this is not what they're looking for right here. They're looking for a modern style building. So we can kind of just go through and look for the ones that don't match that. So yeah, we'll just eliminate that for right now, and we'll let them kind of pick and choose the remainder. So the next step is we can then just go here to add to watch list. And so you'll see your existing watch list if you've created them before with the total number of properties that are in those watch lists, or you can create a brand new watch list. So we are going to be creating this for Wayne Enterprises. They're looking for this space in Las Vegas. So we can then hit create. And we have our watch list created. We just select it and add those properties to a watch list. So now we have our watch list with the 16 properties in it. Now, when you're ready to actually send that to one or more people, you can then or if you want to just bring up those properties again to look at them and maybe eliminate some of them from a watch list, you can go here to the watch list itself, or your watch lists section. And this is going to show those same watch lists that we created, show you the total number, when it was created, and so on. So here you can actually go and manage the watch list. If you want to remove any properties from the watch list, you can just select any of them here and click the trash can icon in order to remove those. You can also view them on a map directly from there. But let's say we have those 16 properties, we're ready to email our client. We can then go into here and click email watch list, and that's going to bring up just a quick window where it'll show who it's from. You can have it send a BCC copy to yourself, and then you just choose the email address or addresses that you want to send to. I'm just going to actually send to myself in this case, but check out these office buildings. Hi, Bill. I believe these properties are right up your alley. Perfect. All right, so you might spend a little bit more time on that, but just for this purpose, we'll make it nice and simple. And let me show you actually what that ends up ultimately looking like here. Now I've got one that was sent earlier today, but let's see. Oh, never mind, it already came in. All right, so I've got my Gmail screen over here. So your client will then receive this email that shows properties of interest, your name, and it sends you a link to view your properties. And that note that we just sent there will show up here as well. We can then click view your properties. And so this is what your client will be seeing when they log in. So now we have our 10 different properties in here. It has our agent information up at the top that's already all set up in our RealNex system. And so, and this would of course show your information here instead of RealNex's information. So this will all be branded for you. And so they can go in here and actually view the listings themselves and then reach out to you with what interests them the most in this case. And again, you can just continually go back in and add any more listings that you get to it. You can also save that same search and come back, every week and add any new listings to that search. So you can go back to our property search here. It should still have all of our criteria saved from the last one. Except I believe city usually doesn't remain. Yeah. Oh, we still got our circle. So let's just. So we can come back at a later date and add any additional properties. Let's say that they're, also potentially interested in, properties along I-15 here and on the Spring Valley side of things. So we can just go here, target these, and then directly add these to that same watch list and continually. So that creates a link. So technically, if they click on the link to the watch list in the future, it'll have those new properties. So if they check it periodically, it'll actually update it with any properties that you add to it. But in addition, you can also then, of course, send a new link to them just to notify them that there's new properties, and you put that in the note. Hey, I added 9 more properties along I-15 that would be up your alley.
Bobby, you might want to mention a couple of things there. You could also save the search and be notified whenever anything changes or anything's added that matches the criteria. So the system will work for you in that way, which is extremely helpful. And the other point I'd like for you to show is, what if you have properties that you know about that aren't in the listing platform already?
Yeah, Frank actually asked the exact perfect question for what the segue is going to be. So yeah, real quick, how to actually save that search and have it notify you each time. On that same search form where you go to apply to actually make it show just those listings, there's also a save button right there where you would just give it some sort of descriptive name. If you saw me type that in, it was Las Vegas office, 40K to 60K sale/lease. So every time I come in here, I'm going to know that's exactly what this search is going to give me each and every time. And so this will notify you anytime that new listings are added to the system. And so it basically says that you're consenting to doing that, and then notify me when these listings are updated as well. So if there's a price reduction or yeah, I mean, I guess that's one of the primary things would be a price reduction or price change of any sort, any new information added. That's going to also trigger to send you an email. And I believe that sends on a once daily basis with a.
It does. Yep, every night.
Yeah, it does. I remember getting that as I have it set to send me all listings that are created overnight just to see what that looks like.
The other important point to make in that is when you go back to that tour book, the watch list that went to the client, show what went to the client. If
the email itself.
Well, yeah, you notice that the listing agent information is stripped out. So all of this comes from you. It's all of your contact information, and when they view the listing, they're directed to you, not to the listing agent. So the idea here is for this to be sort of a private client portal that you created for your client, and for them to obviously keep coming back to you to represent them through the process.
Yeah, so if you view the details on the right-hand side, you'll actually see the listing agent there with their phone number, agent tag, whatever they put into the system. But yeah, it does show them a completely different view where it just shows the property information, the map itself, and that's stripped off so they know to reach out to you. I mean, that's the goal.
And then if you want to answer Frank's question, yeah, then address if you have a property that you know
question
about.
is exactly Yep, that is exactly what I wanted to dive into next. So Frank's question was, this is limited to properties listed only on RealNex. Are we able to add properties not listed on RealNex? And the answer to that is an emphatic yes. So that can be done by way of, so there's a couple ways. You could manually actually add the properties into your marketplace section. And when you add listings into the system, you can actually make them active but not searchable. So they wouldn't actually show up in like the search that we just did a moment ago, but they're able to be sent in things like watch lists or e-marketing. So basically that could be for, either listings that you're aware of that just aren't in the system, pocket listings, or private listings or off-market listed, anything like that. You can also add so that you can send that same quick tour. It'll have the on-market listings, but then you can also add to it anything that's not in the system, which of course that starts really showing your value by comparison, because you're adding stuff that is not just public information in there. So again, you can either add a new property directly from here, so we can give it a name and everything, but we could also just go directly into our CRM, as hopefully those pocket listings and off-market listings that you have, you are tracking in your RealNex CRM. So you've already added those properties into here. So like, for example, let's say that Centennial, actually, let's just do this. Let's make this even feel a little bit more real and only look at office properties and pick one or two of these that might potentially match what our client is looking for. So let's see. Perfect. So let's say, let's just go with this one. So Garces Office Park. We already have this in our database. We've got a photo for it, but we want this to be able to be sent in a watch list to our clients as well. So we've already, gone through, given it a description, put in the parcel number, zoning, all of this information, added photos again. So right on our screen here, there's a green list button, which will add the property to RealNex listings. And you can either add it as a for sale or for lease listing. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and put it in there for sale. And that's just going to make a little go button where you can then open it in Marketplace. That way, if you come back to this property in your CRM and try to list it again, it'll actually say, hey, this is already in your system. You can just click the go button and it will open up that listing in Marketplace. So now you have to make sure that all of the required fields are set up and the status is set to draft. And by default, when you add listings directly from the RealNex CRM, this searchable checkbox is not going to be checked. So that's going to ensure that when other people come into the system and go and search for a listing, Garces Office Park is not going to show up for them. But as it's in your system, you're able to share that with your clients via the watch list, via email tools, or through the actual marketplace email campaigns, real blasts.
So to do that, you'd need to make it active, right? You need to make it active and complete the.
But first, before making it active, you need to take care of the other required fields here. So we'll just, and one thing I do get asked pretty often is, why does the type not copy over? And it's because the property types don't match between RealNex CRM necessarily, because you can customize exactly what your property types are available in the CRM. Whereas due to the fact that these are going to be searchable by a number of people, we have to use standard property types and subtypes in this to be able to perform those searches. So just that is one thing you'll have to make sure of, as well as if you don't have the actual listing price in here, you do have to put in a price. But again, there's a checkbox directly to the right of it where that price can just not be disclosed. So anytime anyone's looking at this property, even if it's not searchable, when they go to this property in the watch list, if you put the actual property price here and just put undisclosed price, that's just not going to show up. And then everything else that we already had in our system from the RealNex CRM. So we have the building square footage, the land size, the parcel number, any photos that we had on the property are going to come in here as well. And so now we can just change this to active and hit save. And then we can just quickly click on this to bring up the listing in Marketplace and just click add to watch list. So now we can just add it to Wayne Enterprises, add to watch list. And then the next time our client logs in, we refresh, we should now see Garces Office Center. Where's that top-down house picture? Need to actually do a re-click on the link. Yeah, it has a 17 in there. Yeah, so now it does show up in the watch list in this case. Not sure why it's refreshing immediately. I might just not be seeing it, honestly.
It's right there. You had it. You just
Well,
scrolled
that's
over.
on the other screen.
Yeah.
Oh, did I? Okay, perfect. And then there was another question, so I can leave it as a draft and still put it on a watch list? No, it does actually have to be an active listing, but it does not have to be searchable. So, I mean, it's effectively the same as a draft. It's just a draft that can be viewed by people that have the specific link to it. So, for example, if you actually shared this link right here with someone, they would be able to click on that link and get to this property. So it is active, and it has to be active in order to actually show up in any sort of URL. Because if you actually change this to draft, that actually breaks this link, making it to where once a property goes off market, you can actually completely remove it from any searches. That also will ultimately lead to it being removed from Google's search, web crawling that regularly goes and picks up new and strips out outdated information. So we've actually worked hard on making sure that those don't remain stale in the system as well. And of course, you could do that with any number of properties in your system. Does need to be done currently on a one-by-one basis, but then again, you could also make it either for sale or for lease and add both of those to the watch list at that point. And anytime you come back in the future, like for example, what's the other one? I'm pretty sure this one's already. No, but yeah, you can come back to them and add any that you would want and add those to your client watch list email directly from the system as well. So this is an easy way to send out those off-market listings as well by way of actually sending out an email campaign directly to that. Again, it has to be an active listing in the system, but it does not need to be searchable. But yes, you can absolutely, Kristen asked, can you
got the next
check
question.
it as searchable?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing that's going to stop you from doing that. In fact, I'd say probably 90% of the time people are going to do that, but there are the 10% that do want to be able to add those off-market listings to the system. But yeah, this can absolutely be a way to add those properties that you took from a spreadsheet that was given to you by your team. You upload those properties into the system. You can just go and add the ones that are actually your listings directly into Marketplace there, make them searchable, and you're ready to go. All right. Anything else you have to add on?
No, I think that's the while
watch
you
lists?
move into tour books, to Kristen's point, that's the full beauty of RealNex in the fully integrated platform level of solution, where you're doing your work in CRM, you're doing your solicitation for new business. When you get a listing, then you can then take all of the information that's captured in CRM, move it into Market Edge to do your proposal, your underwriting, your packaging, your flyer and brochure, and then publish it when you're ready to go to market into the marketplace, run your e-marketing campaigns, and if you want to drive traffic into your deal rooms to run the sales process. So that full workflow can work for on market when you list, or what we'll be talking about next week is how you can do it with an off market transaction as well. And that searchable or unsearchable field is important when, depending on the stage of the process that you're in and how you want to go to market.
Which is as good of a segue as any. to go into the, let me see,
So
actually, it was
there is a question on the days on market. If you go back to the search, so when you go into your search, you can search by recently updated or date listed. So if you want to just get fresh stuff, you can just say things listed in the past month. If you want to make sure things that have been updated in the past month or week or day or whatever, you can find it that way as well. So you're making sure that you're only looking at fresh active listings in case something has lingered. We do clean the system out after 6 months, but there are some things that are more frequently and more current than others, and you can capture that information. So does anyone add listings that are active but not their listings to this type of marketing? So that's one of the reasons that you might put something in a watch list that's unsearchable. So perhaps you know in your market that there's a perfect availability, the listing agent hasn't put it into the RealNex marketplace. You know about it, you think it'd be great for your client, you have it in your CRM and you can enter it, but you're not able to broadcast it publicly as your listing because it's not. You just have information about it and you want to show it to your client. So yes, you could put information that is from a cooperating broker and present it to your client and use the watch list to show it that way, and not show it in the searchable marketplace. So you're not misrepresenting in any way.
Yeah, another good use of that searchable checkbox. Man, I can't imagine if our system did not have it, honestly. And it ends up becoming so useful in any number of manners for exactly this reason. All right. So yeah, I'll go ahead and segue in. The next part that we're going to be talking about is going to be through the Transaction Manager. We're going to be talking about the tenant rep side of the Transaction Manager, being able to generate a tour and tour book for your clients. So I've already got my tour open here. Let me actually zoom out a little bit so we can see a little bit more here. And so in this case, we actually have our client looking for regional offices in the Atlanta area. And so what we've done here is we've created a tour for our client, Wayne Enterprises, and we can actually go into the edit screen here and show. So when you create a new deal, you give it a deal name, something that basically lets you know what that actual deal is. So oftentimes people will use like the tenant name, or in this case, we'll be able to see the tenant name from the client name, but we're looking specifically for their Atlanta regional office. Potentially, we're also, right now we just showed that we're looking for a regional office as well in Las Vegas. So we would end up making another deal for that called Las Vegas Regional Office. And then we can give it a specific type. So whether they're looking for office space, retail, industrial, or land, whether they're looking to lease or purchase, if it's they're looking for a new lease, a renewal, or an extension or expansion rather. And then you put in their actual range of what they're looking for, the date that they're looking for, and the occupancy that they're looking to get in. So let's actually make this a little bit more reasonable. They're looking to occupy by October of this year. So once you've entered all that, the next step is to add the buildings to the system. So you might have seen a number of those different properties on the previous screen that had the photos, the rentable square footage. So I've already added the properties to the system, but you can go in here and click this building not found to add any buildings that are potential matches for your client. So this is going to show you any of the buildings that are already in your system, but then you can come here and click add building to have that building be added to the system, where you can add photos of building, rentable square foot, lease rate, things like that. And we'll actually go and look at a few of these buildings in a moment. And then down here, you can actually select who the tenant or tenants are that you want to have access to this. So ultimately, what this is going to be able to generate is we're creating a tour for our client, Wayne Enterprises. They're looking for the Atlanta regional office, and these 7 properties are properties that we know are matches for what they're looking for as of right now. So this email, Bobby Jones here, is our tenant. So he's going to be given a login to where he can actually view everything that we are doing for him in the system. So when we go back here, we see the actual map with those different buildings on it. So we can see, where those different locations are. And on the left-hand side, we have each of those buildings that we've added to the system. It shows what suites are available and potential matches for the client, the rentable square footage, and we can edit each of these by just clicking on it and changing it directly from here. So for example, we haven't added the information yet for 12 Centennial Park. So we can just say this is actually going to be a 14,000 square foot yeah, but you can, she's clicking in. All right, there we go. But you can also click directly into the property to edit more of the information. And so your clients are also going to be able to see this information and give each of the buildings ratings. So we've got our 12 Centennial Park here. We can add whatever suites they're going to be potentially. Actually, that makes sense. So on. I actually don't have rights to edit this right now, but you can come through. And so some of these actually aren't going to be editable though. Like for example, my score and group score. So these are going to be able to show you, once your client logs in, what they think. So the stuff on the left side basically and the top are for you to add so your client can end up seeing this information. So I'll quickly just show kind of what the viewpoint of the client is. So they'll be able to log in. There's a link that you're sent to give to your client. It's just 10.8.net/sign-in, and they'll have a password generated for them. Once they sign in, they'll see all of the deals that they're currently actively working with you on. So right now we see the Atlanta regional office, but we've also been working with the same person on a number of other deals. He actually represents a mutual client of ours. So our client can then click on this deal, the Atlanta regional office, and see basically the same stuff that we were just seeing on the other screen over there. So when they go in here now, they're going to see that same information. So your client logs in, they're going to see the different suites, the different rentable square footage, the rate of each of these places, and they can even click into them to get more of a full picture. So you can have any property photos directly on the property there. You can add floor plans that they can actually go into, click, and actually see what the layout of that specific space is. You can add any PDF documents, any other deal documents, Word documents, and so on. And then you can also add notes to the actual building for the tour. So you can just click into here and make any changes that you want to directly from here. And this is where the rating side is going to really come into play. So you can see here now on this property, a few of the members of the tour have already given it a score, but now I can actually affect this by changing the actual ratings on each of these items. So for example, let's say this one I think is a 6-star location, doesn't have great bus access, not a fan, a great common area lobby, good security, it's a pretty good layout. Amenities are a little bit overall feel, it's a little bit pricey as well. And so as each of the different tenants that are decision makers on the tour go through and add their ratings to these, it's going to actually give each of those properties a group score, so that when you come back in here, and now we let's just go back out, which should save that. So now when we click into here, the group score is actually going to have changed. It was, I think, 8.4 just a moment ago, but because another one of the tenants went in and actually rated these things, that changed what the actual overall rating was. Now, these ratings themselves can also be modified. So you're not always tied into location, business, or bus access, common area. You can just click on these headings and actually change them to whatever you want. So let's say that we actually want, is it Metro Atlanta Rapid Transit, I think?
MARTA, yep.
MARTA access. And so you can change that to be whatever you actually want. So you can customize what the actual clients are going to be rating on. You can also customize the descriptive field. So for example, if parking ratio isn't something that's necessarily important to your clients, you can switch out parking ratio to something else like miles from campus. And let's say that they oftentimes will work with work with student interns and they want a building that's actually close to Emory University or whatever there, you can easily customize each of these and then add the actual data for each of those as well. So the idea is, as you actually get closer to the tour, your clients will be able to log in and see all of this information for each of the buildings. They would be able to, prior to tour day, come in here and tell you to eliminate any of the specific properties that they want, and they could actually compare them as well, just on a quick side-by-side showing the rentable square footage between them, rate, and so on. And so as you actually make notes and everything, this is going to give you a very clear picture prior to ever stepping foot in the car and going to each of these individual properties one by one. You're going to know which ones are hits and misses before ever needing to go to those. So you share these, and let's say they don't actually have any interest in number 6. You just saved yourself a heck of a lot of time driving up to Sandy Springs there, and it's in this case just need to go to North Buckhead, thankfully. So you can, even before you ever do a tour, the idea is to save you a lot of time on said tour. But then when it comes time to tour, your clients can also still log into this either from their phone or tablets. And there's actually a tour book app that will open the same information and give them access to the same thing you're seeing directly on the website here. So as they're actually going through and touring 12 Centennial Park, while this information is fresh in their mind, they can give the ratings right then. They can add any notes that they think about right then. So that way, when the tour is over, you can very easily then come in here and actually just, as the agent on the deal, when you come back in here, you can actually then double click on any of these fields here, like rentable square footage, rate, monthly rate, or monthly rent, or score, and it will actually sort them based on that. So number 1 is now whatever item gave us the highest score. So we see, Dunwoody had a 0 score. We weren't ever interested in it. So that's, easily we can just ignore that at this point. But we see, there's 3 right in this area. So we're kind of, honing in on exactly what we want to do. At this point, we could then, let's say 3, 4, 5, and 6 aren't of interest. You can then just come in here and either archive those, and that's probably what you'd want to do. That way, if they do decide, what, Palisades Building A and B actually do match a little bit more than we thought initially. When you archive the properties from the tour book, you can easily come back and view those again. So that way, you're not necessarily making it to where all of these properties are just gone forever. You can just go in here to archived and come and add any of those back in. You see, we actually did this for East Windsor Center at one point in the past. So yeah, like we said, Palisades Building A, we can then just come up here to action and unarchive that, allowing you to easily, change and edit exactly what shows up in here. So then let's say that we want to add new buildings and do a second tour. We have our original properties in here. That way, we see that Tower Place 200 had a score of 5.8, Pinnacle of 6.1, but we can come in here now and add any additional properties. So I'm sure there's another building on Peachtree that I've not thought of. Hey, look, 340 West Peachtree Street Northwest. So now we can save the deal. I'm going to get a crying baby, but it did save. And again, you shouldn't see the crying baby. That's just my account is an admin account, which some things just kind of break a little bit more in the system for me when I log into it. And so I have to deal with a few more headaches, but you should not actually see that same thing. But now when we refresh, we should see 300 West Peachtree. Let's go back to deals. Ah, 260 Peachtree Street. So now we can go in here and add 340. So 340, we see we can now come in here, add the rentable square footage, and add any additional properties. So as you're going through, you can do multiple times through the process with this. Now, when your client logs in again, they're now going to see the properties that we removed are not going to show up anymore, and that old one is going to show up here as well. And so you're also able to In addition to being able to share this link, the client login portal, to where they can come in and actually view all this information. Sometimes you have some people that are a little bit more old school than that, really don't have any interest in logging into any sort of system. You can also click on the tour book button, and that will actually email you a PDF copy of what you're looking at here, where you'll have the ability to just basically fill in those ratings with a pen and paper, staple them together, and have your tour book, a physical tour book actually ready to go, where it's gonna, show all of the information for each of these properties, the different floor plan layouts, the different monthly rates, anything that you've added to those are all going to show up in the actual PDF report that you end up generating. So you can print that off prior to going on to a tour as well. But more and more these days, clients are definitely looking for, easy leverage on technology that, actually saves time. And from what I've heard of people that actually actively use the system, it can be an incredibly huge time saver on the touring process, especially those preliminary steps, eliminating the properties that really don't necessarily match the criteria. Getting rid of a couple of extra properties from your tour is just absolutely huge. And you could probably put a dollar sign on that, but it's tough. That's something time is invaluable to me, and I think to a lot of you too.
So I think it helps in the winning of business as well for many of our clients, but to show them a tool like this, to be able to show how we can provide the tour online and collaboratively, where you're working together to narrow down the search originally, and then in real time in the field, use the app to take additional pictures, to make notes. I'm sure with many of you, you've been on all-day tours, and by the end of the day, everything gets a little bit fuzzy. And trying to take notes on a PDF is not nearly as efficient as getting the notes either dictated in or typed into your app, so you can consolidate that and having the rating system there in real time while it's fresh. And then the next step is, once you have the shortlist down and have RFPs out, the system enables you to track the bid and ask from tenant and landlord, and to be able to compare the scenarios, and at the end of the day show the savings or the value that you've created by moving from the initial proposed terms to the final deal terms. And one of the questions while you're looking there, Bobby, you're moving around, is unfortunately this module is not integrated with CRM yet, or Marketplace yet. It will be. And so the data for the property listings in your market need to be input separately, but the development roadmap for us will have this integrated in the platform in the near term. So that's one of our top priorities, to get this as sort of the last ingredient of the suite to have data integration to.
And then the next question, are tour books branded as well? They can be indeed. This is just what it looks like when someone does not have any sort of custom branding in the system for their company, but we can absolutely add a specific color to actually show on the header bar, as well as a company logo. For that, as of right now, that actually is something that you would need to reach out to our support department to get that handled. But if you do want to start utilizing the tour book app and actually have that branded, so when your clients come in here, it'll show your company logo and your information, just reach out to support@realnex.com and we'll make that happen for you.
Anything else you wanted to show today, Bobby?
Those are the primary things. It actually ended up being a little bit longer than I expected. I always forget how great 10.8 ends up, or I'm sorry, old habits die hard. Like the transaction manager, it's a fantastically useful tool that does something that'll. This is one that there's just not really an analog for out in the market right now. So.
And it's great for individual tenant rep tours, as well as you saw when you went in as the client, you could be working on a portfolio, a number of different transactions for them, and that would be the one portal that they could come into to see all the different projects that you're working on. Yeah, as part of our roadmap as well, we're looking to expand that client portal aspect. So there'll be a client dashboard and you'll be able to show them all the different projects, not just the tenant rep deals or the leasing deals, but for sale or otherwise to have a full portfolio view of your services. So those that are doing corporate services work or any type of client portfolio work, to have one reporting mechanism for all of those projects is directionally where we're headed with this.
Which is really what the landlord rep side of the transaction tools is actually designed for. That's actually, for tracking the marketing efforts and giving your client a portal to be able to log in and see what's actually been done to market that property, what tours have actually been done. So the two sides of the system actually work in conjunction with one another. So if you're representing both parties on the deal, you can easily keep both parties informed with just one set of data entry. You do your tour, they do the ratings, they have a proposal. At that point, you can then go directly onto the landlord deal that you have for that same space with the landlord, and that information is all going to already show up in there because it's that same building. So the two sides are intrinsically tied to one another for that reason. One for more on the reporting side and one for the tour side.
Yeah, I think we'll have to do another session on landlord as we expand that, because that's a whole different set of value and a different use case. So a question came in about the properties not in the marketplace but are added by a subscriber. Are they visible by all subscribers? So if you enter information in your CRM, that's private in your CRM. If you enter information in the marketplace and mark it unsearchable, that's private. So it's only if you put it in the marketplace and make it searchable would other people have access to that information.
Yeah, so I think the way what he's asking is if someone else adds your deal as an off-market deal that they want to share with their client. So they're kind of thinking if one of their colleagues does the same thing, and as long as they're not marking it as searchable, that would eliminate the fact. I mean, they'll have it in their system, but it's not going to show up like in searches or anything like that. So nothing's going to be confusing to people in that scenario. So no, it wouldn't actually be visible to all subscribers unless they mark it as searchable specifically. And again, if you're adding the property from RealNex CRM, every time you do that, it's by default going to come up with that searchable checkbox unchecked. So it's a lot more difficult to make that mistake. And I mean, if someone's doing that intentionally, that's I imagine there's absolutely recourse in that case as well. Beyond just taking it down.
Yeah, if you see something, then we can certainly we'll deal with it to manage that. But that has not been an issue.
No, we've actually, I think we've had to do that a couple of times where a listing just fell off and another agent got the listing, but the previous agent didn't. I think that left the business, so all of their listings would have fallen off after another, like I think 30 days at that point. But no reason not to make sure that goes through as quickly as humanly possible. So we do absolutely take that sort of stuff seriously. So if you do notice anything like that, absolutely reach out to support@realnex.com. We'll get that. We prioritize those sorts of things so they're taken care of next to immediately.
So questions about some of the things that I mentioned. When will they be available and how will they be notified? If you're not receiving updates from RealNex, we do a weekly or bi-weekly Did You Know, which has updates to the solution and other marketing communications that have product updates that come out. Let us know, and we'll make sure that you're properly on the list to receive that information. You should be receiving regular communications from us on all new updates and enhancements to the solution. So that comes out on a regular basis. We also have the monthly sessions with Tim called That's Cray Cray, and you should be invited to that. If you're not, again, let me know, let us know, and we'll make sure you're included. Sometimes people, some of our invitations or notices might go into your spam filter, so you might just want to make sure that you're receiving all of that information. or if you've ever unsubscribed from a list, you would not get some notifications. So we need to get you resubscribed. So let's just make sure you let us know if you're not getting regular updates from us, that we can manage that communication so you're aware.
Also, for the more major releases like inline editing and adding leads to multiple projects, those also often will show up under the Guide Me section under new featured content, and you'll occasionally see bright orange pop-ups, at least in the CRM. I think they're red in Market Edge and green in Marketplace. Whenever there's a new feature that's major, there will also be a pop-up on your screen the next time you log into the system. We try to add those for the first week. Any new, again, major releases, like if we fix a pixel on a logo, probably not going to let you guys know, although if you really want to.
I think we've got it covered for today, Bobby. We appreciate everyone's participation once again. Thank you for running the session. We look forward to seeing everyone back on the off-market deals and RealFit next week. We'll send out a recap of this, and for all of the past sessions, join our RealNex user group on Facebook or our YouTube page, and you can find past Brunch with Bobby and user group discussions, as well as That's Cray Cray with the monthly updates that have been going on for the past year or so. So anything you want to refresh yourself on or go back to, we have lots of content out there. So thanks again. Hope you all have a great afternoon and great weekend, and we'll see you all next week. Thanks, Bobby. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Jeff. You're the man.